Here we are, punters, back for a bit of Punting Melbourne style with RaceTrack Ralphy and me, Potts. Welcome, mate. It's been a battle. Good to see we're still in one piece.
We're on this side of the ground. It's a good thing. What a week!
What a week! What a couple of months it's been.
Yep.
It's all been great. So we'll talk we'll have a quick bit about the tracks first. And the reason I want to talk about the tracks first, is that I just want to say there's a lot of stuff on Twitter about the tracks and everything else, but I want to get into a little bit of that detail. But the first thing I want to say is the challenge of producing a fair track that gives opportunities to as many runners as possible when there are 4 meetings in 7 days with over 500 horses. And as Mick says to me, that's 2,000 hooves, Potts.
It's true, that is true. Absolutely right.
The challenge is enormous.
Yes.
And, you know, the track raced brilliantly over the 4 days. It was predictable and consistent, and punters really can't ask for more than that. There is never, it's an outdoor sport, there is never a track without some kind of advantages somewhere, you know, because there are so many variables and it's so fragile and tiny little things matter. But to produce such a fair platform for horses to have an opportunity and jockeys to go to the right spots, just an incredible effort. And to Mick Goodie and his team, I just want to say well played, and I think they're the stars of the past week for me. 100%.
So let's be super clinical and analytical as opposed to any of the noise. I think 10 out of 10, 3 of the days, and then Cup Day was slightly on pace, rail advantage.
Rail advantage, okay. So I think that's...
how do you read that?
That's good analysis. I think that's fair. And I think, you know, I have the geographical opportunity and the time to go and walk all of the metro tracks in Melbourne. So every time I see one of these advantages, I'm nearly always able to identify why it happened.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's so it's not. There's always a good logical explanation for it if you've got time.
And I do want to butt in on that point, because how often, when there has been a reason or a bias, have you said, well, that's because either the track isn't prepared properly, as in they haven't had legitimate excuses, and how often has it just been things that have been out of their hand, a la what you explained beautifully about Caulfield, the butterfly effect in one meeting in July. There's reasons, isn't it?
There's always reasons.
Yes,
there's always reasons.
We've got highly competent staff, track people, who often get taken out of context.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest challenge that the track managers in Melbourne face, and I say Melbourne rather than Victoria, because it changes a bit once you get out of Melbourne, and Sydney punters wouldn't really understand this. I only understood it when I come here, is the weather pattern in Victoria is so different to Sydney. Whereas in Sydney, it comes in over over Sydney, and the mountains lock it in, and it tends to rain consistently. It hovers.
Yeah.
Whereas in Melbourne, it's just shooting across, and there's just not enough rainfall in Melbourne. It rains reasonably regularly, but it never rains for a long period of time.
And now that you live here,
yeah,
I bet you no, but it would sink through about how rarely it rains, even though the colloquial thing is the Sydney people bag Melbourne's weather.
Yeah,
it actually is a pretty dry climate.
I think the bagging of Melbourne's weather comes from the change in temperatures.
And it's cold,
which it can change. Like it could be 31 today, and it could be 17 tomorrow, right? Like, or you know, that's the issue with Melbourne's climate. But from a rainfall point of view, these track managers face a real challenge because it just doesn't rain very much down here.
And does that, another thing I reckon's come into it, tell me if I'm close here, but if you haven't got a perfectly prepared track or a perfectly draining track, which we now have in Victoria, where creates fence off in the old days. But now what we're seeing, we saw this at Moonee Valley, and we can see this maybe at Flemington on the second day, these tracks drain so well that, and it was only really, I've got this clarity this spring, the first time, was where all that Ware's doing now is compacting the ground so that it's actually, it's different, it's a different dynamic. So if the reason they need to move the rail, for instance, is because it's getting too advantageous if it gets too firm against the rail.
Yeah, that's one of the possibilities.
Yeah,
it can go both ways.
Right.
And you know, if you have a section that's been opened up by racing and compacted, then how much irrigation you put on it will have a significant impact, and then how it dries. So the weather. So if you irrigate it, then the weather and the wind in particular, following that, will have a real impact. So let's talk about Cup Day. The reason there was an advantage And you know, we're talking about a length or two over big distances, and it was most magnified in the Melbourne Cup.
Yep.
It was because of the wind direction after Mick irrigated. That's what caused that bias, that advantage. I don't want to use the word bias, it was an advantage to be on the rail. So he, after the Derby Day meeting, he had to irrigate on Saturday night, I think it was. He might have put more on Sunday and a little bit more on Monday. Now, I was out there walking the track on Monday, and there was a strong southerly wind. Okay, it comes across, so there's the home straight, there's the winning post, there's the 1200, you know, the Melbourne Cup start down here. The wind's coming across the track that way. Okay, now because of the camber of the track, it comes off the road where the ambulance drives around in there, and it hits the inside section. Okay, and you can feel this when you're walking it. Right. It actually directly hits that inside, probably 2 or 3 lanes. Yeah. And then the wind starts to deflect up. So when you're out wide, you can see the leaf of the grass is hardly moving. Right. So the wind is not drying the track. The further away from the rail you move, the less drying the wind is doing. Right. Okay, and that wind blew that direction from Monday morning through to Melbourne Cup. Yes. Till the jump of the Melbourne Cup. Yes. And just continued to dry the inside section. So it's like how you could possibly manage that. There's no way you could manage it.
And then what happens is first, second, and third all are inside barriers. Yeah. Penny starts. Now, never mind that the year before, the first 3 home were the 8 widest. Are you going to tell me if Rekindling drew 12 and wouldn't have won? Yeah, I was one of the 2 best horses on the day. They had least about it. Now, as you say, it's an advantage. But that was a big gap to the third horse and then a big gap to the fourth horse. They all turned up the first 3 home.
Yeah, I mean, it all, like if you say swap barriers Marmello and Rekindling, and Marmello gets the run that Rekindling got, okay, it would have changed their finishing positions, right? I'm not saying it would have swapped them, it would have changed them. Yes. Okay? Yeah. So, because there was an advantage being in that position. Yeah. Right? But look, in the end, it doesn't matter. Punters could see what was happening there on Cup Day. Right. There was a really good reason for it. It was nothing to do with anything Mick and his staff had done. It was God decided that lanes 1 and 2 were going to get dried a bit quicker, right? That's all there is to it. Now, can I just point to another, just to give punters some clarity on what the weather and the little fragile things make to a meeting. If they go back to that Flemington meeting, that was the Flemington Wednesday meeting.
27th of September?
Okay, so early in the spring. On that day, the track was in absolutely magnificent order. The rail was at 14 metres, but it was just in brilliant order. It was very even. If anything, I thought there'd be, if there was no wind that day, there would have been like a really slight on-pace advantage because there was a firmer section just before the turn, like what I call the transition area, but it was very marginal. Now for the first 4 races of that day, the wind blew up from the northwest, right? Okay, and all the winners came from midfield and beyond and ran on out wide. Yes. Okay, everyone on Twitter that hadn't been able to walk the track or whatever, and they look at when, well, the inside's off. There's a run-on advantage here. It's huge. You've got to be down the outside. Yeah. And I can tell you the only place on that track you didn't want to be were the outside 3 lanes, which were only going to affect the straight races because that had been aerated to prevent them looking for it.
Where Amadeus was. Nice race.
Yeah, exactly. So, after race 4, the wind started to ease off. And by race 5, all the winners after that came on pace. Yes. Okay, so
Pinot being one of them?
Pinot, Tavistock Abbey and Main Stage, the last one. So, and anyway, like the point is that that's how fragile the whole thing is, and that so people are making comment, and I'm not blaming them. I'm just saying, you know, the reality was the surface had nothing to do with any advantages that day. That day, the only advantage being created was because of the wind. And I'm saying that that sort of thing happens a lot. So, and the problem with Flemington going forward for the punters is that the wind and its effects are going to continually change over the next 12 months because we've had a grandstand knocked down that's right in the right place. That affects how it funnels into the key section of the race. Yeah. And it's being rebuilt, and as it rebuilds, it'll continually alter. So, you know, you've just got to be willing to make some adjustments on the day.
Well, we're the same age, but like I grew up in Caulfield. There used to be a big guinea stand, and the mid part of the straight also had part of that then that got demolished. So for years, and you know, I know it's a cliche, but I can picture Pat Hyland just going to the lead and winning, race after race, you know. And then since those grandstands are gone, wind now is a huge factor in Caulfield races for exactly that reason. So what you're saying is that the Flemington dynamic will be similar until that stand's finished.
Yeah, and it'll change it, but how much it'll change it, you won't know until time. So anyway, the point is that track provided a really good opportunity for punters to, you know, identify where the best place to be in a race was, and it was more about tempo and positioning than it was about anything in the track. So
so which one would you have changed? And you might have mentioned this in the chat room, but during the day compared to race morning, because mine, for instance, on Cup Day, I was very bullish on Lifeless Ordinary and saved on Odeon. I would have flipped that round as the day unfolded. Well, is there anything that you said, well, yeah, this has got a bit more severe than I thought, or anything like that, in any part of the week?
Yeah, so I mean, that's a good example. Like, you know, going into that race, I didn't have a lot between Odeon and Lifeless Ordinary, and I also backed Louboutin. In the end, I steamed right into Odeon and Louboutin and saved on Lifeless Ordinary. He was the run of that day, if not one of the runs of the carnival. And you know,
if he's going to stand out.
Yeah, I don't think he is, but no, he's a very interesting horse. I'd love to see them prepare him for a big Randwick Mile, fairly fresh. You know,
maybe they will.
Yeah. Anyway,
why don't we talk about the four-legged ones in part 2? We were talking about the ground. We should talk.
Yeah, absolutely.
The ground.
Yeah, let's do that.